and wise.
Faith, on my end,
Mm-hmm.
I have opened it up. I generally think I understand what it does. I think, but
Mm-hmm.
never used it.
Okay.
Terry, that you see in the background there, she has used it with another church.
Okay, good. So there's some background. Okay.
Yeah, downloaded the app, but how about could you just give us like 3 minutes? Like, who are you and
Oh yeah,
why did David have you do this? Could you
I
give us that?
apologize. So I'm not I guess the only introduction you've really had to me is the text that Pastor David sent out. Is that correct?
That's it. I just,
Okay,
I'll
got it.
volunteer
So
Faith.
I'm just a complete stranger to you. So my name is Faith Boyd, even though my email says Marquez, that's my maiden name. And like most of us, we haven't changed our emails yet. So and I've been part of 26-8 now for almost 10 years. And then do a lot of stuff in person with 26-8 about, oh my goodness, I would say 5 years ago. I took on the role of what we lovingly call PCO guru, which just means, hey, hopefully you can fix our problem and do the background in contacting PCO. And the reason primarily that I took that on is before I was a stay-at-home mom, I was a nurse and I want data to be correct. So our children's minister came to me and they were going to have an event. I think it was a kids camp or something that was specific to a certain age group. And we found out that we had missed the opportunity to connect with a couple of single moms, a couple of just kids in our church because we didn't have the correct birthdays in, or we didn't have a box checked on the back end. So because of that, that's kind of how I started delving into the PCO world a little bit and trying to get, from our perspective, the data correct, and then just trying to utilize this lovely instrument that sometimes works amazing, but most of the time what we wanted to do, it doesn't do yet. So trying to utilize it the best that we can for what we're trying to do.
So is PCO Planning Center something? What's
So planning center is, excuse me, and I'm all volunteer. So planning center itself is like the suite of applications that they have planning center. So under planning center, you have the church center app, you have services, PCO services, you have check-ins, which is for kids, you have registrations, you have calendar. I think there's a donation one. So they have this whole suite of different applications that all kind of go off of PCO people. So when I refer to PCO, I'm usually referring to people, but all of those go off that. So PCO people is like your main database. So that's where you collect your information for your members, your visitors, anybody else that you want. So like we utilize our PCO people for our members, for visitors that come in. We also use it for any business contractors. So for example, we may have a guest piano person come in for a special event. We utilize them and we put their stuff in PCO because then we can put them into services. And services is a whole another database, or excuse me, not database, another, what would that be called? An application, another function. And Camille, who's the other lady that was on the text with us, she is very familiar with that. I'm only a little familiar with that just because I don't work with it as much. I've done stuff in there and I can answer some questions about that if you're interested, but she's the one that's actually put together our services. So services is a suite that is used strictly for any of our events, whether that's our Sabbath gatherings or we use it for special events. So maybe we're having a picnic. We've also utilized it for kids camp. And within that, you can plug in, thank you, honey. Your time frames. So I can send you screenshots to show you how we use it. But for example, our services, we have it all listed out. It says from the time the building opens, and it has in there from this time to this time, helps is setting up. From this time to this time, the worship team is practicing. From this time to this time, this is what's going on. And if it has different rooms, you can plug it in. And then within that, you can utilize teams. So for example, helps is a team, or hospitality is a team. And so then you can kind of plug people in, and we have it all the way up to who's our speaker today. So it's usually Pastor David. So it'll say they're Pastor David. So that's services. That's another suite. Then we talked about check-ins. We use that for kids. So that's more of that's strictly for things that you want people to check in. I've seen other churches, because I've talked to other churches that use Planning Center, and they may utilize check-ins for a family event. So it's not just the kids that check in. But with that, you can actually print out labels if you want to for security for kiddos kind of thing. And then at the end, they check out. Again, it's a great resource. It's obviously it's made for large churches. Definitely. I mean, I've walked in and churches have a whole panel of iPads so parents can check in, and then I have people checking in. Then when there's calendars, so that's how we put things in for hopefully out to a year. That's as far as they go out. We would like them to go out further because we have stuff that we've already planned ahead for like 2 years, especially with the biblical holidays. We know when those are coming, kind of thing. And then there's also registrations. So registrations kind of works with calendars, and it can make a registration. For example, when we do a lot of time of our Passover, we have it at different people's houses and you want to register for that. Or sometimes we do a big event for Tabernacles or Purim, where maybe they're actually going to invite people and it's a paid event. Usually we have scholarships. But there's other information that we want. So we use that so we know how many people are coming, and we can plan if there's special requests, if we have, a specific vegetarian or a gluten-free meal, that kind of thing. Those are all, that's the deep down and dark. I mean, you could start using it for a lot of things. Just at the surface, we started with Planning Center, just the people. If you just look at the people app, there's a lot of stuff you can do with that. So you can make forms. We have a form that I can pull up on an iPad we call it our first time attender form. And so someone comes in, we greet them, we say, hey, welcome to 26-8. Can I get some information from you? And then it gets their basic demographics and any other questions we might want to ask. So I think ours has something like, first time, do you know Jesus? Do you need a Bible? So different stuff like that. It's totally, you make it what you want. There's some things that are hard locked in that you can't alter. And then there's other things like forms, you make that what you want. So if you want to ask them, which we've done in the past, hey, what do you know about Messianic? Or, hey, what do you know, how many kids do you have? You can kind of tweak that. So it's really what you guys want to make it. Does that help?
Yeah.
Or is that just way too
far,
much?
So good. Terry has a question, then I have
Yeah,
a comment. I'm gonna let you
is it
go.
possible for you to show your screen? Is that so everybody can kind of see what you're referring to?
That was my plan. Unfortunately, I'm working on my iPad today, and my husband took the computer for his event. So I'm hoping what I'd like to do is kind of just get some basic questions, and then we can hopefully meet again and I'll share screens. It was my total plan to share some screens because it's much easier to see what you're working with. The other option too, because our PCO, every church's PCO is going to be set up different just because of what suites you're participating in, and then how you set it up. So my home screen may look different than your home screen. So the other option is, if one of you guys wants to pull up, there you go, PCO, and then I can kind of walk you through that.
So I guess so my name is Sean, and
Hi.
I'm kind of the admin for this software.
Yes.
And I work in the computer industry. My background is enterprise application support. So I've been kind of struggling with this because conceptually it's not as intuitive as I'd like it to be.
And I hear that from a lot of people that have a computer background.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess my big question is, I've been going through like all these videos on the university side of Planning Center, right? Is that as a church, as a small church,
right,
how would we get started using this? I mean, we've got the calendar, we've got the check-ins, we've got groups, people, publishing, registration, and services.
Okay, can you tell me again what you have so I know what you're using people, services, check-ins, I heard.
Calendar.
Okay.
Groups. publishing, registration, and services.
Okay.
And so, yeah, the question is like, how would we get started, and just kind of like, just from the very beginning,
Okay. So let's just start bare bones. So if you go up to the left-hand corner there where it says home, drop that down. Okay, so that lists everything that you have access to, correct? So let me just calendar, check-ins, giving, groups, people, publishing, registration, and services. Okay, so publishing and giving, I know nothing about. I think Adelie, who is Pastor David's daughter, knows more about those. Giving would be more of our admin. So anything in there I can't answer for you. But what I would say the best place to start would be in people. So if you scroll down to people. Okay, so this first page, this is the one I think that Pastor David kind of sees the most of. So ours is set up a little different just because we're a little bigger. So starting, obviously it's a demographic page, right? And you guys are awesome that you actually have all of males and females. That is like, you have it delineated. Ours, I seem to open mine up and I have at least 20 that are unknown. So I have to go in the back end and plug those in. So I say props to you. The second graft obviously is unassigned. So those are, you can make that what you want. And it's based off that third group, your membership type. So right now you have members and you have unassigned. You can actually go in and you can make your membership types. So for example, we have members and we have specific how, what makes you a member kind of thing. And then we have, I think our next one down is, we just updated it. I'm trying to remember. I think it's frequent attender. And then we have visitors, and then we have an online campus too.
So do you have, when I think of member, a church that I attended for a long time is you could either be a regular attender or you could be a member.
Right.
And it's just, you've gone through a course and you
Correct.
do something, being a member. So
Yeah.
when I look at the membership types, I was kind of going, well, what does that actually mean? Because you have the staff that work at your church, and your staff could also include volunteers, and maybe
Yep.
you could categorize the volunteers as staff. But
Yep.
how does that all get built out?
So I really wish my husband left my computer. So you in people, you actually have to go in there and say, hey, we want a new membership type.
Oh, okay.
And yeah. The other thing is, right now you have a very controllable number. You have 44 people. That is very controllable, but we always be thinking, okay, when we get bigger, when I'm doing something and I make this change, what is that gonna entail? So PCO, since Sean, you've watched a lot of the videos, they reiterate things like, hey, not everybody needs to see the directory, or you have those permissions. So you do want to be aware of that, especially when you start delving in deeper. But you can make any membership you want. Like we do have one, I think you're right, on our side, we have one that says staff or elder, I think is our designation on it. And all of those, they're up to you. It depends on how you run lists. It depends on what you want to do with the information. So if I want to be able to email all of my elders and staff in one shot, I can go right there, pull up their email and mail them. And like you said, like you have the frequent attender and the member. So what does your church, how do they get the title of a member? And that's different every church. Like you said, some people it's a class, you sign a commitment form. And that's up to you guys on as far as what different types of memberships you want in there. On the back side, it's when you're running lists of maybe communicating with people on who's gonna receive that email. For example, I'm trying to think of a recent situation. when we run a list and maybe we had a death in our church, right? Well, there's newer people that have only come, 2 weeks. They're listed as visitors. When we send out that email that Mr. John Doe passed away, those visitors probably didn't have any connection with this longtime member, but our members do. So we want to make sure that we have them classified right, so that when we run lists to send out communications, that the right people are getting the right information.
So if we were to identify hypothetically 3 different types at this point in time, and as
Excuse me.
grows, we add different types.
Mm-hmm.
Is this something that we have to create from the very beginning, or can it be
Yes.
modified in the future?
It can be modified for the future. We've modified ours, oh my goodness, within the last 6 months, because we're trying to really hone in, because it's our database. Like I said, we have a lot of people that maybe they've never even set foot in our church, because we have like an online community too. So we're really trying to hone in on what each of those membership categories means. But yes, it can be modified at any time. Those are all modifiable. There's really nothing within PCO that's locked, unless it's something hard on their side. Otherwise, it's all modifiable.
Okay. So, hey, Trevor.
Yeah.
Okay, so what you told me as far as the priorities would be getting the users into the system, and then configure, and then the next priority would be getting the online services set up, and then the one after that is setting up the check-ins, and then the final one was publishing.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that still holds true.
It does. I am learning the system like you. So in that sense, we're meeting with Faith so that I could further understand the pitfalls and how the system itself is to be set up, what we need to set up. So part of the meeting is to say, okay, now that we need to understand our categories, that's what I need to do. I need to sit down with a group of people and say, here are the categories that we need so that we can properly communicate with people. And then I'll go to you and say, can you set up these categories in the system in people so that we have those ready to go? And I want to learn from Faith, how do we appropriately assign people to the apps, the categories, so that we make sure that someone can check in those kids well, so that someone can communicate with and that's why I think Tamara's here. But Tamara, I'm going to say, okay, Tamara, can you handle our flow of service?
There's Tamara.
There's Tamara. Sorry.
Sorry
Had to
for
scroll down.
everything. Okay.
Tamara, and we'll meet with Faith. Who's your counterpart that will teach us services?
Excuse me, Camille.
Camille. We'll meet with Camille at another time, but that's just one app.
Yeah.
For example, we had a scripture reading that Alan was supposed to do
Yesterday.
and I skipped him because I've got too many things going on.
Right.
I need a wedding coordinator, I guess.
Right.
To coordinate the service and make sure things happen properly, because I just can't handle everything.
Oh yeah. And it's gone as the day. I mean,
Yeah.
gone is the day you have the piece of paper behind stage and going, okay, this person's going next. Okay, that's gone.
Yeah.
And services does turn into kind of your wedding coordinator, as far as like, okay, at this time we're going to do this, or after this song, this is when the kids get released, whatever that looks like for you all. Excuse me.
Okay, Sean, did I answer your question?
Yeah, no, I'm just trying to figure out, like, based off of our priorities, how do we work with Faith and others to get the system up and understand it?
So do you mind, Sean, if I kind of just, let's pick somebody and do like what I would, just kind of a quick rundown of just that individual, kind of seeing their profile?
Yeah.
So it looks like,
Actually,
yeah.
let's find Lindsay. And then let's
Lindsay.
find
Can we
somebody
find you,
else.
Lindsay?
So go up to you tell me when you want me to direct you, and you tell me because you look like you know what you're doing.
Oh, I don't know what I'm doing.
Okay.
Do you want me
I
to
don't
share
see
my
Lindsay
screen?
now.
Trevor?
Wait.
Go to see
Who's
Lindsay.
okay, Trevor, you don't know what you're doing. You're perfect then.
Okay, perfect.
Okay,
So Trevor, hold up. Scroll back up to the top.
I'm here.
Up to the top. Okay. Hit that magnifying glass on the right side. Okay. So you can plug in Lindsay's name, just start typing, or her last four of her phone number. Okay. So she pops right up. But if you see right down below Lindsay, it says create a new person.
Yeah.
That's going to come up a lot. So we'll talk about that, but just be aware of that. If you're typing somebody in and they're not coming up, double check their name is correct. I make that mistake all the time, but you can always create that new person. So click on Lindsay Smith. I'm assuming that's who we're talking about.
Yep.
Okay.
yeah. So the reason why I chose Lindsay is that she's already plugged in as
Yeah.
somebody that's in the check-ins.
Awesome. Yeah, I was going to say pick somebody with children, and I see you did that. So that's awesome. Okay. So just looking at Lindsay Smith. Okay. I'm just going to run through this screen like the first time I ran through it. And I'm a person that I like to break things when it comes to tech. That was part of my job as a nurse is, hey, try this charting system. And I broke it. I have yet to do that with Planning Center. It has annoyed me. So starting over on Lindsay, on the left-hand side, it obviously shows Lindsay Smith's, her phone number and her email address. That action key, if you drop down, it's a little drop down, the action by Lindsay Smith's name. Over on the left-hand, up top.
Oh.
There you go. Yep. So right there from this screen, there's multiple ways to do things. And I'll try to say if there's always another way. So on here, you can edit her profile, her permissions, perform an action, merge profiles, set as inactive, or delete her profile. So there's other ways to edit her profile. There's the little pencils. You can always use that. Permissions. So this is where you could go into permissions and go ahead and click on it and give Lindsay whatever permissions she needs. So right now she is an editor. And then it also lists on here, she's an editor. She also has some stuff in check-ins and services. So it's an easy way to edit someone's permissions across the board. So you may have someone that you want them to be able to do more in check-ins because they work with kids, but maybe less in services because really the only thing they do in services is schedule people. So you can do all of this in one screen.
Yeah.
And then you can also modify, like those are set, those blue check boxes can email, can do this, those are set, but you can always uncheck those if there's something maybe you don't want her to have access to. Can you just hit the arrow down button so you can see the options on that editor?
Where's the arrow down button?
Where the finger at editor, follow it right there. Yep. So this is when anybody's put into Planning Center, they have no access. They can't access Planning Center. That doesn't mean they can't get into the app. That's the exterior side of things. They have just no access within Planning Center. A viewer is just that. So maybe a viewer is somebody that they're working with the new people. So they're a part of the welcome team. So you want them to be able to go in and see John Doe's information when he comes in so he or she can reach out to her, but not necessarily edit their personal information. And again, if you were to click on viewer, there's some things that you can modify. So maybe you want them to do that one thing, but nothing else.
So
Editor.
Can you be a viewer here, but be an editor in check-ins?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. Editor is your closest to the highest. Editor is, we have very few editors. I think I'm an editor. Camille's an editor. We might have a total of 4 maybe, and that might be stretching it
I see.
because there's so much privilege that they have. So that's somebody that can go in and change personal information. They can modify forms. There's a lot of stuff an editor can do. Manager is your highest. And if thinking of that in security wise, you probably don't want a whole lot of managers. I think our managers are Pastor David, Adelie, and our admin. managers, they have the power to actually delete someone. And as you're delving into Planning Center, they're really big on, you don't want to delete somebody. You want to inactivate somebody. There's some other things that managers can do that editors can't do, but that's the big one. You want to have the least. So if you look at this as like a quote unquote hierarchy, you want the most that have no access. Next would be viewers, few editors, minimal managers. And again, whichever one you choose, you can modify to give that person select privileges higher than what PC already has built in. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Go ahead and click on editor because that's where you guys had Lindsay.
Now,
And then-
let me
Go
ask you this. If I
Yep.
want to give Lindsay access to another module,
Mhm.
say publishing, can I do it from the screen?
I believe you can. It's
Because I
Every-
couldn't figure out a way to do that.
yeah. I think you actually have to go into each suite to do
That's
that.
okay.
Yeah, but
yeah.
once she's part of that suite, then it's gonna pop up on this screen.
Okay, all right.
So you
That
could do a mass thing. So go ahead and Trevor, let's cancel out of that.
Sorry.
Amy's gonna control
Sorry,
it
no,
now.
go.
Oh, okay.
Trevor.
Sorry. Who's
Yeah.
driving?
Hey, I know who's driving. Not me.
So
Okay.
can you go up, Trevor, and do a search for Alan?
Up here?
Yeah.
Yep.
So Alan. Like that?
Yes.
There he is.
Click on him.
Click on him.
And then I guess go back to the actions and go to permissions.
Jim's up there.
Permissions, okay. Oh,
Okay,
and then there's
So,
nothing.
so
then.
like here, Alan, I haven't plugged him into anything, but I guess going back to what you were telling me earlier, is that I need to go to that module and assign Alan.
Add him in that module and then he'll have access. Yeah.
Okay. All
And
right.
generally, if people are in other modules, they're probably going to need better access within people, but not manager and maybe not editor, but they might need that viewer access.
Okay.
Just so if you move them, if they have a higher access in one of the other modules, they probably need a higher access within this module. Because everything kind of, for the most part, I'm gonna say that a lot. It flows out of this module, out of people.
Right.
So, if somebody was in here and let's just say it's John Doe and John Doe is just a regular attender,
Mhm.
they would always have no access.
Correct, until you gave them access.
Yeah, but as an attender, if that's all they ever were.
Yeah.
There wouldn't.
No access, yeah. But that wouldn't affect, like, if they're on the app or your directory. That's something different.
Okay,
When we're thinking access in this, think of it security wise. This is somebody's private information. Think of it kind of that way,
Well, they can check it
that they
out.
don't have
So-
access to that.
so if I'm looking at, hypothetically, somebody named Peter Smith, right?
Mhm.
Is there a way for me to tell if Peter Smith is, a staff member, a member, a regular attender?
Okay, so that's all on your guys' side on how you want to build it. So back to those membership types or other things.
Okay.
So
Well,
let's-
where would you see membership in Alan's profile?
So cancel out of that.
Yeah.
And then to the left, there is a little, I'm sorry, my bad, right? You'll see that membership type. You can drop that down.
Got it.
Okay, so right here, these are all these are the membership types that PCO gives you.
Okay, I was looking for that. I could not
Yeah.
find that for the life of me.
Again, you're right. It's about that intuitive. Sometimes it's really easy, like everything. Other times you actually have to go into somebody and dig around and find it. So these
Okay.
these are the membership types that are given. And we started with these. I'll tell you how we use these. Obviously, member, that's kind of easy. Regular attender, okay. Visitor, the way that we switch someone from visitor, regular attender, I think we have it written down in our stuff. Again, we just modified this, especially going into the new building. They have to be a giver and or maybe attended one of our big events, something like that.
Mhm.
Participant, that's maybe they've come to an event, but they're not, like, it was a one-off. So my aunt came to an event, but she's not coming back. She lives in Denver, that kind of thing.
Okay.
And then in progress, we used that for a while, excuse me, for our visitors that we have actually made connection with. And maybe they're in the process of, are they becoming a member or are they becoming a regular attender? And that's when you start using workflows, which is a whole nother level of stuff. So, but all of these right there down at the bottom, it says manage types. You can tweak all of those.
Oh.
So when anybody, hold on, Trevor, when anybody's,
Should I click manage types or no?
hold on just a second.
Okay.
So when anybody's entered into the system, they're automatically not set. You have to
Okay.
manually go in and set them. But caveat, there's some back automations that you can build. And this is, you guys are just starting out with this. So this is like, I'm giving you the 1.0 version today. That might be like the 4.0, but you can build forms and automations they take a class, you've checked the box, that automatically turns them into a member. And so there doesn't actually have to be a person clicking everything. With 44 people, it's feasible for someone to go in and I'm going to make all these individual changes, or there's ways to do it as a group. But when you get, up to 50 people even, or bigger, praise the Lord, right? It's harder to get in there and do all those individual click and tap type of things. Trevor, you had a question.
Yeah, would there be any validity for me to ask you to send me your categories on even a text message so that
Yeah.
way we can set it up that way because you've had experience setting the
Yeah.
categories?
Yes, I will. I have to find it, but I will send it to you. I will send you our categories, and then it tells you how we break people down, not break people down, but how we determine when they're going to make it to it sounds like we're playing a massive video game, right? I hate when we start talking about people like data, but how they make it to the next. And maybe, for example, in our church, we're kind of back and forth of like, okay, when do you get access to the directory? When do we want, this is a control thing and you don't want to take control, but you're like, we're also protecting people. When do you want to open up the directory that I can scroll through and I can look and say, oh, there's Faith Boyd's personal information that she's chosen to share, mind you. But hey, now I have access to that. So but yeah, I'll send you that.
With regards to the different membership types
Yeah.
that are here right now, are those just a name and you can define them any way that you want, or are they predefined within Planning Center?
Nope. We chose how we're going to make a person that.
Yeah.
Those are just the ones that came with Planning Center. They're like, hey, these are good options.
Okay, but member could be anything we want a member to be.
Correct.
Yeah.
Member can be they danced a jig and turned around 3 times. That's how they become a member. It's however, it's not, yeah. It won't even, when you, like right now, is Alan a member or is he, what is Alan?
Man, he's nothing. And
He's nothing. Okay. So put him in as in progress or a visitor, or leave him as not set. Go back to Lynn. Let's go back to Lynn. So go back to the
Lindsay, okay.
spyglass. Yeah, Lindsay, I'm sorry. Okay, so if you go to her member type, she's already listed as a member, but she could be changed on any of those things.
Yeah.
So that's where you change that.
Just kind of going back, when I change her to, like, let's say I changed her to a participant, right?
Yeah.
That's not going to affect any permissions.
Nope.
Nothing. It's just a category.
It's a category database.
Okay.
You might have to think of this is how it would run if you were running at a spreadsheet. This would be the category that you're looking at. It doesn't change permissions.
Got it.
That's good to note though, because maybe, for example, we have one that's called previous attender. Because we have, so we have people that maybe have moved out of state. They've done different stuff. They previously were a member or an attender. So they had a lot of permissions because maybe they were involved in the church a lot, or they were just a previous attender. We want to have something on record that says, hey, they used to go to our church. So we have a category called previous attender. And the reason that we do that is because when you deactivate somebody, they're deactive deactivated until they do something to reactivate themselves. So they can log into they can log into their profile. They can, maybe they moved out of town, but they still want to give to us. So that giving, there's like 3 ways that they can reactivate. I think it's if they register for something, if they log into their profile, or if they give. So we want to know, hey, we have a group of people that they previously attended. They're watching stuff, they're still participating, kind of thing. That may not be applicable to all churches. Not all churches necessarily want to know that, but it is good to know that if, you know, if somebody does leave the church, making sure part of, if someone leaves the church, Trevor, and they're like, hey, we're leaving on good terms, great, we're going to deactivate, just because you don't need to see everything.
Yeah.
And when you deactivate them, it takes them out of all of the stuff and kind of starts them back over as far as their access is available. But it's good to know that on the back end as a pastor. Just,
Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah, you could talk to PD about that, or if you have questions about that. I just thought of something. Do you guys have a dummy profile at all?
Yes.
Okay, so let's pull up your dummy profile that we can play.
And then Victor has a question too, Faith, when you see him.
Okay, I think he's been popping up.
Or Victor, do you want to go, or who's the
Yeah.
profile? I don't know how to
Yeah,
search.
if-
What's your question?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Okay, if someone's deactivated in the system, then how do they have access in order to, let's say they want to donate? If they're deactivated, do they no longer show up at all? Or do they have to go in and re-register or something like that?
No, they, on their side, okay, hold on. I want to make sure I'm wording this correctly. So on their side, they won't see anything. As soon as they log in and go to pay, at the most, they may have to like re-enter their, their phone number. You know, when you log into Planning Center, sometimes it asks you for the 2-person authentication. Like it'll ask you for a phone number and a code. So they may have to redo that, but it does, on their side, they're not going to know they've been deactivated.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they just go in to like re-register or and then the system recognizes them.
Yes.
Okay.
But when you deactivate them, it does remove them, which is good to know. For example, let's say, you know, we have our kids minister. Our kids minister is moving on. She's got a lot of access right now. She can get into, she has access to check-ins. She has access to groups, to people at various levels. She can modify stuff. And it's not that we think someone's going to go in and do nefarious information or whatever, but they're no longer part of our church. So they don't need to have as much access anymore to our databases. So when you deactivate them, it's a one-way shot to pull them out of everything. But when they reactivate, they can get in, they can look at, they can still, they can go in and it shows them just the basics. So they're no longer an editor in there. They're just a viewer or a no access.
Okay.
So I think that test user, I think their first name is Test.
So here, test.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Sean Test. Okay.
Okay, Sean Test. So make sure everyone knows who Sean Test is. So let's see here. And he has a household. It looks like you have Sean Test and who on there? I'm sorry, I don't have my glasses.
Sean Owens, so he's got himself here too. Oh, wait. Oh, because 2 Sean's popped up.
No, so
Or-
somewhere, go ahead.
No, sorry.
Somewhere
No,
in there.
So the Sean Owens is my profile, then the Sean Test is just a test user.
Okay, so you added Sean Test to your household.
Yeah.
Okay, that's okay. So let's talk about Sean Test. Contact information, they're kind of halfway over to your left a little bit. If you touch that pencil to the right, go to the right. Yep, that one. So this is basic information, your choice if you want to put it in. The more information that you have is just, think of it as another way to be able to find somebody in a list or to contact them. So you can make down the road, for example, let's say, you know what, we're having a special event. We're going to watch all the kids from 1 to 3 for single moms only. So you're able to make up a list that will pull only that information, but it's only going to pull that information if it's entered. So This is set up that it could also work for a school. So that's why it asks sometimes the school. Obviously, you know, your basic demographics there, your mobile phone, your address, if they're an adult or a child, their birthday. Excuse me. And then like we've used some of these, like when we had kids camp, we wanted to know if they had allergies. So that might be a medical note that we added. So this is one, when you guys make a form, which that is my goal today, to help you guys have a form, at least one form if you haven't started working on those, so that it'll automatically plug into these fields for you.
Okay, so in this particular example, that West Park High School, that's where our services are held.
Okay.
So that so as far as the campus, that would be our campus.
Right.
Is that correct?
Yeah. So if that's what you want it to say, if you want to say West Park High School, again, that's a modifiable. You can make that say, I'm sorry, what is the name of your church?
Yeshua's house.
Thank you. So you can make it say Yeshua's house, or you can make a second category like Yeshua's house and Yeshua's house online. Or if you wanted that. Some people do it just main campus, West campus. Again, this is made for like churches of thousands too. So you can imagine, you know, they have multiple campuses. They're going to have multiple options under there. It's totally up to you if you want to use it and how you want to use it. God bless you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So go ahead and drop that or go away from there.
Yeah.
And then so yeah, you can X out of there. Birthdays is always nice to have, you know, if you want to do something there. Social profiles, if you know their social profile, it will add it, but it also on the back end, and I'm not quite sure how this works, but on the back end, Planning Center will search like for their email address if they have a social profile. It doesn't work on all of them. I think it has to do with the settings the person has on like Facebook and LinkedIn, that kind of thing. But at times you might go into somebody's profile, it actually has their social profiles listed.
So it does that on the back end. It automatically does that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But I don't know how I assume that has to do with how the person has their Facebook, for example, set up. If I have all my privacies up, I'm not going to pop up on this. So then if you go over here to the left, you'll see profile, activity, communication, workflow. So let's just go through each one of those, starting with activity.
Okay, Tamara, you had a question? Sorry.
Oh,
I saw
go ahead,
Tamara's
Tamara.
hand.
No, I was blocking my mom because she didn't know she was in the camera view. That's all.
Okay.
Okay, so if you go to profile is what we're in, activity. So this is a handy feature that I like. So this is going to tell you how this person got into Planning Center. So this right here is their first entry. So on March 21st, that's how it was entered, and it was entered by Sean Owens.
Okay.
So maybe on March 21st, Sean Test came to church, filled out that first time attender thingy, then that, instead of saying by Sean Owens, is going to say, I think it says by Planning Center or something like that. But it's a nice fluid record, because the other way people get profiles made is, for example, through registrations. So you have a Passover Seder and people register, and you all of a sudden you see, you know, 3 extra people. You can go to their activity and say, oh, okay, they registered for Passover. Nobody knows this John Q. They registered for Passover, and you can look and see that that's how they got in there. Again, as things expand and you get bigger, you know, it's like, hey, does anybody know such and such? You hopefully can track them through this activity. It's also going to show, for example, we talked about memberships. Hey, did they participate in a group? Did they participate in a thing? This is like a running ticker. So it will show any modifications. So, whoop, hello, I pushed something and now I can't see your screen. Hold on. Let's see here. There we go. So it will show you, for example, that first entry is, this is when Sean Test was created. Then the next one is, hey, somebody changed his profile. So then you can see, hey, the next one, somebody deactivated him. Who deactivated him? they're registered for a group or someone assigned them. So it's a nice ticker to kind of follow them through the system. And then it tells you on the side there all the products that you guys obviously have available. And then it color coordinates. So people up top on the right, it's a blue dot. To the left, it shows the people icon and it's blue. If Sean had something to do in groups, it would show on the left with the group icon as a yellow or as an orange dot.
Yeah.
Does it make sense?
Okay.
So then any questions on that? Okay. So then if you go to the left and go to communications, this is just as it is, communications. It will keep a track for you of any emails that you send him through Planning Center. And it will also track when you respond, when they respond, even though the response is going to go, unless they've changed this, it's going to go to the person who sent its email. So Sean, if you send an email to Sean Test through the system, it'll show in here, hey, the message was sent on this day. And then if Sean Test responds to you, that response will come to your email, but it should also record in here.
Okay.
And then workflows. If you want to go down on the left,
Sorry.
yep, that's okay. So you guys, do you have any workflows started, Sean? I'm assuming not, but
No.
no. Okay.
I don't even know what a workflow is. I mean, I know what
Okay.
the term is, but I don't know what
Okay.
a workflow is in Planning Center.
Okay, I'm going to make note of that because we'll talk about it. We'll go on. We'll go back to that. Go down to notes.
Yep.
So notes, go to add a note. Categories, can you click on that? Do you guys have, okay, so right now, again, these are ones built into Planning Center. So this is somewhere you can actually make notes on people, depending on the categories and the modifications. So prayer requests, you may not want all of your viewers to be able to see, but this is a way to keep track of, hey, Sean sent in a request. He's praying about his aunt that's sick. And then you can go back in. So you can kind of keep a running dialogue if that's something you want to use. We've also used it. At one point, we used it as part of a workflow. And I'll explain those in a little bit of keeping track of. So we have a visitor that came in. We made that initial phone call. They came back. John or Victor connected with them. Now they're part of the church, that kind of thing. So notes is an internal recording system. Again, use it as you wish. We've used it different ways. We haven't really locked in on a way that we like using it best, just because of the way it works. Excuse me. And then forms, which you probably don't have anything under there. Okay. So forms is something that, again, that you can set up, and I will show you some of ours at some point. And then go back to Sean Test profile, the very top, up the down a little bit.
This one.
Yep, yep. So right now, Sean Test is part of Sean Owens' household. Sean, do you have, is it just you, or do you actually have a household?
Well, I mean, right now it's, I mean, yeah, I have a household.
That's
But
attending the church?
I hypothetically, yes.
Okay, no need to explain. So if you go to that little pencil there on the side,
This one or?
Yep. that one. And this is where Sean modified his household. You can modify it, and people can be members of multiple households. For example, we have some kiddos that are
Right.
foster children.
Okay.
So they might be part of multiple households. Or, maybe somebody came in, and a lot of times it happens with kids or teenagers, they were a guest of somebody and then their family came. So they might be part of multiple. Ideally, you don't want people part of multiple households, but there are viable reasons for that to happen.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's also a cleanup. And then on this screen, obviously Sean Owens is marked as the primary. So most of ours are going to show the head of household as primary or the main contact. So that might be the mom versus the dad. It just kind of depends on what you're doing. The family picture, that is something that would get uploaded by the family if they chose within the app and the directory. So that does not necessarily come from us.
Okay.
That's all on them. Same thing with that photo on Sean's main profile, the ST right now, that can be a photo.
Oh, yeah.
What we've encouraged our guys to do for security purposes is we do ask people, especially when they start volunteering on different groups. So if they're setting up, if they're on security, if they're on kids, hey, please do upload a photo
Yeah.
so that our security guys, if need be, they can actually see a photo of you. If something happens, you know, we're looking for a kid, does this person belong, you know, whatever. There's various scenarios that you don't want to go down that you need a photo, but we'd like a photo.
Yeah.
So, okay, cancel or X out of that.
Okay.
Okay, that was a lot of information, just kind of scratching the surface.
I
How
can
are we
see.
doing? We're at the hour mark. I can keep going and we can delve in. What do you want to do? Is there any questions right now? I want to get you guys going with a form at least for like,
Yeah.
so it's easier for people to sign up. And then maybe we can talk about workflows a little bit.
I have a hard stop at 10.
Okay, at 10?
Yeah.
And Trevor has a meeting at 10, right?
Okay.
Yeah, let's try to hard stop it at 10. Let's try to
Okay.
do that.
Or a couple minutes before, or?
And
We'll
if
do a
any
couple
of you
minutes
need to
before.
leave, just, it's
Yeah.
recorded, okay?
Let me
actually-
go get some coffee real quick.
Well, and then.
Hey, Amy,
Yeah.
go and search for my name because some of us, I have edit rights and I've updated my stuff and maybe the group that's
Oh,
here.
there you got your picture.
Yeah,
Terry gets the gold star.
Yeah.
no, Terry's used this before. But I
Yeah.
just
That's
thought
right.
for people that have it, that are on the team, we can start helping Sean by
Yeah.
entering our information.
Yep.
So it sounds like Terry's the new training coordinator.
I do have a little experience in that. But,
Why are you laughing, Terry?
no, I've offered. I've told you I'm willing. I
Yeah.
just,
Perfect.
yeah, so I
Well,
just need to
and-
know so I can plug you in.
Yeah,
My
and when
schedule.
you
Terry and I
roll-
chatted about this yesterday, so she's going to help a bit.
Yeah,
So-
I'm part
Maybe
of
more
the
than a
planning
bit.
center, but for a mega church.
yeah,
So I was showing them some of
You-
my screens where all the
Yeah.
music's in there.
Yeah.
and-
yeah.
But
Terry
I'm
is
also part of a social media and I wanted to see if it added my social because
Oh,
I
yeah.
did check and it is my email address that's in here is what's on my Facebook
Okay, but
Yeah.
there's nothing there.
and
to-
it didn't do it. So that's
Yeah,
one of the reasons I wanted to see
Got it.
because I verified that it is. So,
And I am not sure how that happens because
Okay.
personally, I don't want my social media on there, so I haven't gone in there and delved in mine. But I'll open up
Mhm.
somebody else's and it has like all of them. So I don't
Mhm.
know if it's exuberant people entering them or if it's a back end thing. Like I said,
okay.
It
So-
may be a job you have to schedule, right? Like a job in the background, crawl social media, popular.
yeah, yeah. So, Terry, you're going to be a wealth of information just the fact that you've utilized this at another church.
I'm
so-
only, yeah, but I'm the service, what is it, service
I'm-
center? That's all I
I'm
have
just-
access
I
to
understand, Terry.
and me.
I'm
So
just
I'm
saying.
good.
You're a wealth of information.
Yeah.
But looking at Terry's, obviously she has more information listed, right? So how, right now, the 44 people listed, the 44 members, were those individually added into Planning Center?
A lot of those. Oh.
I- Is that you, Lindsay, that are talking?
No, I'm sorry. I said a lot of it was the Spencer family that went in and added it, right? That I saw on the screen was Spencer.
Yeah, Wendy
Oh,
did
Lindsay
it for,
added this.
Oh, let's see. If we go back up to
Go,
people,
yeah, go to your dashboard, one over.
okay. Oh,
So-
Yeah, I
So-
added all those in.
Okay, so you hand added all of those in.
oh,
yes.
Lindsay did. Okay.
Okay. So eventually, someone won't have to hand enter all of those in. The person can enter them in. And that helps too, a database and a security wise. That way people are updating their own information. If you know, an address changes. Again, when you're 44 people, it's a little easier to enter individually. And hey, Sam, I don't have your birthday. Can I get your birthday for the system? Hey, Dwayne, you moved. Can I get your new address? Much easier to control. As you get larger, bigger, and start spreading out, you're going to want to try and make some things where they can do it themselves, where they can enter it themselves. Same thing with like visitors. Like right now we have a visitor's card that someone can fill out on a paper, but we all know everybody's chicken scratch isn't legible. Whereas if I can hand them an iPad that has the form right there, even if I walk them through them typing it through, I know I can actually read it.
Yeah.
Or they can type in what they want to type in.
Question, now, is this only accessible through an iPad at the facility, or can they go home and say, I'm going to log into the system and then I'll put in some information because it says new member portal or whatever?
Awesome question, Victor. Yes, it's accessible anywhere. And
Okay.
what you can do is within the forms, when you create a form, it'll actually give you a, what is it called? A URL that
Okay.
you can copy and paste, and you can, you know, you can send that out to everybody in a text. You can send that out to everybody in a email. You can have it on your web page of like, hey, new here, click on this. It'll take them to the form and they can plug in their information. Away you go.
Okay.
How about one of those QR code things?
I was
Yeah,
just going to ask that.
You can connect it to a QR code also.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Because that would be great for us to have up on the screen.
Yes, yes. Thank you. I forgot about that option too. I don't know that Planning Center gives you, like, that is above me. I don't know.
I
know
can
how to
do
use
that. I know
QR
how to
code.
do that.
Okay, good. I know how to use them. I know how to say I need a QR code. Adley makes it for me. But it'll give you the URL that you can connect to the QR code and use that however you want. We have QR codes all over the place for giving, for logins. So for example, our first time attender or our information card, we use that QR code. We have at our welcome center, it's right there. It says, hey, welcome to 26-8. Gives us a little bit of who we are. Scan this code to fill it out. Or we have an iPad there that someone mans, same form. Or we have pop it up on the screen. You're new here, scan this QR code so we can get your information. So say it in a better, more welcoming way, not like I just did. Don't scare them off. Okay, so Amy,
Yeah.
if you want to go up to forms, being cognizant of our time, we got about 20 minutes and I'm trying to work it down to 15. Okay, so let's make a new form.
Oh, here, gotcha.
Yep. Okay, blank slate.
What do we want?
So do you want to just call this information? Do you want a first time attender?
Well, why don't we just create a test form and then,
And you can play around with it?
and we can play around with it,
Okay.
or we can create a new form.
Yep.
However we want to do that, but
So wait, there I put test form? No.
So all of those are accessible. If you go up to where it says untitled form, you can click on it.
Got it.
There you go.
yeah, test form. something
And then
like that.
save it.
Okay, this top one, yeah.
Oh, look, it changed up there on top. Now you have test form. That box
Yeah.
that has right below test form, that's kind of a description. So
Yeah,
if you plug in a description. So what you do with the forms is all along here on the right hand side, it says add fields. The basic fields, it tells you right there that they're going to ask no matter what, first name, last name, email address. That's how everybody is located within the system. So what you could do is send this form or your information form, whatever title, you can send it, show it, have them scan it. As long as they use the same email address that they've already got in the system, it'll automatically update that profile.
Can this form be sent to that test account?
Yes.
Can we do that right now?
There's nothing in the form, so let's put something in the form.
Okay.
So what is some basic information besides email address and last name that you might want?
Robert, do you have an opinion?
And not off the top of my head.
Address,
Address, yeah.
address.
Phone number.
Address, phone number?
Usually you want the
Oh,
basic
Click
stuff.
on-
Like that?
Yep, just drag it over.
Oh, wait, drag or,
Oh, click
No,
on it. I'm
you
sorry.
did it.
You did it. You're good.
Okay.
Click it. I apologize. Birthday, do you want that? It's all up to you. Marital status, household members is nice because then that's automatically going to create their household. So then if you look over on the form, they click on that, it'll automatically, they can individually add other adults or other children. So if you go down, you've already clicked on a question. So
oh,
there's some of these,
uh-oh.
that's okay. Nothing is breakable.
So would you potentially want to have a form that says prayer request?
You could, definitely.
Okay.
Gotta push cancel. Let me-
So
okay.
there's those workflow ones that are on that second, I'm looking at the right where it says add
Yeah.
form. Okay, those are all connected to workflow. Right now, you guys don't have a workflow. We're gonna pretend that's not there.
Got it.
Later on, that's gonna come in handy. Your basic fields, so it's how you want the question answered. Text would be an open-ended question. Single checkbox is you populate what they are. Dropbox and single Dropbox and single checkbox are kind of the same. It's more aesthetically pleasing, how you want it to look
Yeah.
on the front end. File, we use this, we have a form that it has all of their, for example, our security and our kids, we want them to have CPR, if they have first aid, so you could have a file and then they can upload a picture of those things. What's the next one there? I can't,
Number?
I've never actually used that one, but it's
Yeah.
it's what it is, where you would plug in a number for the answer. Paragraph, so text and paragraph, same thing. Text is an easy answer.
Sure.
I like potatoes. Paragraph is give me your faith statement kind of thing.
Yeah.
Check boxes, again, same thing, except it's more than one checkbox.
Yeah.
Date that, again, that could be when were you saved? When did you come to the Lord? When were you baptized? Those sorts of things. And then section heading just breaks it up. So again, thinking broad, right now, this is a test form. We're looking at just basic information, but down the road, part of your membership may be, hey, we want to know, your story of Christ. And that's like your header. So then our first question is, how did you come to know the Lord? Next question is, when were you baptized? Next question, when were you baptized in the Holy Spirit? Whatever your pertinent questions are. And you can utilize this in different ways. We've also utilized it. For example, we have a multiple step class, and they have to come in and answer questions on the form. So then after they take the class, they get the form sent to them, and then they answer the questions and it comes back.
Faith, so what I'm seeing here is now I don't need to use Google Forms. I can use this.
Correct.
This is like a Google.
Yes.
form, yeah.
Now, so my goal is to integrate everything so we can be a decentralized, have all
Yes.
of our processes,
Yes. Yeah.
and we're able to do this from our houses. Now, right now I'm using Constant Contact. Can I get rid of that and send out, I guess,
Emails.
user-friendly emails from this, or do I need to keep Constant Contact?
I think we use MailChimp, so I'm not sure, you might have to keep Constant Contact.
Okay,
I
yeah, it's the
think so
same thing.
too.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
Thank you,
Because
thank you.
that gives it
Yeah.
different, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And there's different parameters. I really try to stay in my lane, so I try not to know more than I need to know as far as, but I do know these are conversations I've had too with Pastor David and Adley, who does more of our communication, more of our, that kind of stuff. She knew the answer. So for example, Pastor David is like, hey, I want to get all these people off of MailChimp. They keep signing up for MailChimp, but I want to integrate them with the PCO. It may not be appropriate to do that. Adley had to have that conversation, and this is why we're not doing that.
Yeah, just
why-
so you know, on my end for, my folks here,
Yeah.
our folks.
Yeah.
I want to delegate as much as I can.
Yes, yep.
But part of the reason that we're meeting with Faith is I've never used this and I want to be organized, but I didn't know how to delegate So now I'm learning today what the parts are, I guess. Thank you.
You bet. So on this form, like you said, Sean, I had Sean test in my head. I'm like, wait, is that right? You can make this what you want. So then let's go up to the top on the, so below test form, it says submission, fields, automations, and setup. So let's go through each one of those towards the left. Yep. So submissions. So when a person enters their information, you'll get a running report here.
Yeah.
It'll
Okay.
tell you when they entered it, who entered it, whatever information. You can search them if you just want to look at the people that have done it. Over towards the right there's a way to download a CVS, kind of an Excel spreadsheet, that sort of thing.
Okay.
Then if you go to fields, that's where we were at. Automations. So this is, again, digging in a little deeper. We're not going to really touch on this a lot, but you can add an automation. For example, whatever one of the question is, let's just, hey, they went to Disneyland. They checked yes on Disneyland. Great, you get to be a member now.
Yeah.
So you can put in an automation that when they check that box, it makes
goes.
them a member.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then settings. So settings right here tells you who's working on it, who's the collaborators who can see this. So you want to be aware that it's right now this has the highest, so managers can look at this. So you're going to want to add Sean to this, and you may want to add like editors
Yeah.
so that Sean can putz around in here. So where it says add collaborator under manager.
Yeah, I see. Okay.
So you're that way he can do it. Otherwise, the form a lot of times is owned by the person who creates it. And I say that loosely
Yeah.
because you may have, for example, some churches use this as part of their counseling database. So you may only want certain people to see the form and be able to update it or that sort of thing. So you want to just be aware of that kind of thing. Notification list. So for example, on our first time attender form, we have the head of our hospitality team is notified when we get a new person, and I'm notified, and Adelie, I think, is notified. So who do you want to know that they've submitted this form? That may also help with who's going to take action on that form if it's a form that needs action, kind of thing. Filter settings, that's a new one on me. They must have just added that recently. So we'll learn together. Form status. So maybe you're creating a form, but you don't want it open to the public yet. So you're getting ready to have an event or you need to collect some information, but you don't want to necessarily have it out yet. You can close it and then open it. And then archive, you no longer want to use the form, so you archive it. The embedded, so there's your QR code. So if you grab that, Amy, copy it.
Okay, push copy it.
Yep, copy it.
Can you put that?
So now it's on your clipboard.
Uh,
Kid, whatever your choice is, either text it or email it to Sean.
Yeah, just put it in chat.
okay, that's above my knowledge here. I don't know how to do the chat stuff for Trevor. Good.
So you can go into the chat, Amy, open up the box
Oh, there
and
in
do
the
like a
chat.
control B. It'll paste it.
Okay. Now I get it. That chat. I'm thinking the other chat.
Or yeah, and then everybody can see it.
Got it. Okay.
Now, if everybody could go into the chat box, click on that link, it should take you to your form, and then everybody fill it out real quick.
Okay. So you would go to.
Let me just see here.
So you can see right away, it already, because you're logged in, Trevor, it already plugged in your name and your email address.
Okay. You want me to actually click submit?
Yep. Okay, now go back to Planning Center.
Yeah.
Okay, go to submissions.
Whoops, I lost. Ah, okay.
You might have to refresh.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, there you go. So those are the people.
Yep.
Now, The nice thing about this, like I said, it's connected to your email address. So if you weren't logged into Planning Center already, Travis, it would have you enter your email address in your name. And as long as it matched up, and this is the death of me with smart computers because we're trying to figure this out. But as long as it matched up, it would update your profile. So it's
So-
not going to create a new profile.
Oh, it's not. Okay, so click on
Yes.
I do. All right, so there's no way to add this to the people?
It's already in there.
Oh, okay, so we went to people, you would see my,
So
Okay.
you could go up to, the magnifying glass on the right and type in my, and there's my do. And then anytime, also be aware, anytime you see blue, it's a link, it's a hyperlink. So when you click on him within the form, my do in the form, you could hyperlink to his profile.
okay, so
So
that
now-
was me doing that.
So,
I'll have to go in and delete that.
so
So,
go to dashboard real quick, because we're running out of time. I want to be aware of your time.
yeah, I see they showed up.
Yep, so it's gonna show you all the recent profiles right there. So right now, let me also show you something here. It looks like Victor Spence has a duplicate profile.
Yeah.
So go over to the right and say view, or click on that, go to view duplicate profile.
Ah,
And then you wanna click on the one potential duplicate kind of, yep. So it puts side by side what's going on. So it
Okay.
looks like they entered the same information, but on one of the profiles, they put a phone number and one they didn't. So this is a person's got to check this. Is this the same person?
Yeah,
It
okay.
actually is the second. So there's multiple with the same name, but there's a second and a
Correct.
first.
Good
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
So this is one of those, you want to use a person to double check it. This will automatically fix itself when Victor 1 and Victor 2 plug in more information.
Now, I have a question. If it was a duplicate,
Yes.
does it indicate that the second, or that the actual duplicate is one with less information, or is it the person that was put in second?
I think it's the person that's put in second.
Okay,
So what you would do is you could put this up at the top, at the very top where it says potential duplicate over, I'm sorry, but yeah. And next there it says make primary. So you can look at these two. Right now it's gonna say that Victor Spencer, not the second, is the primary. So when you merge them, that profile is gonna stay, but it's gonna pull in all the new information.
I see.
okay,
But if you wanted Victor 2, if these were the same person, and Victor 2 is the correct person, then you'd want to make him the primary and then merge the duplicates.
okay, got it.
At this point, there's not a whole lot that's going to happen when you merge them besides it merges. The longer you're in the system and the longer people add information and there's more stuff there, when you merge it, no matter what, it's going to give you the warning of, hey, you're merging these people. Are you sure this is what you want to do? It's that old school, like think Windows dot way back when you have to actually type out merge these people. And then
Okay.
I think it'll give you another one, especially if there's two different email addresses, because it's all run off the email address. It'll give you another warning like, hey, if you do this and they have a login for both these email addresses, they're going to lose one. Are you sure you want to do this?
Okay,
So sometimes that's a talk with Sean that's decided to make my dues and other profiles and say, hey, dude, what's your email? Which one are you going to use? Make sense?
Yep.
And there are times that people, you guys are cutting close. I gotta let you go. There are times that people do want two profiles. You might have somebody that's a business partner. So maybe they do big donations through their business. Hopefully they have a business profile. And then they have their own profile. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, just for today,
Yes, sir.
want you guys all to know that over here on the left, I'm learning all this because I don't know it. And I want to get good at theology and telling people about the Lord and praying for people.
Yes.
It's what I really, really want to do. But I wasn't sure what I was delegating. And the great thing about you folks and myself too, is if you recognize that you're good at something and you want to jump in, you got to communicate with me, but also fire yourself too. I'm
Amen.
not going to hire myself to do data management. That is not my thing. I don't want to do that. I'm not great at it, but I can do it well enough to get something started, but then ultimately I need to hand it off. So I'm just thinking that, so check-ins, that will be important for people who are in the working with our kids, and we'll have a separate meeting with that. Maybe I can track down David to say, hey, who's really your guru at that? And we can meet with them at a separate time. We're going to meet with Camille for sure. Tamara, you'll be a part of that. Anyone can come to these meetings, but ultimately we'll have one point person that will kind of be in these domains to make sure that these are working properly. And right now, Sean is he's the back end overall administrator, just to make sure that everything is working properly. So I want you to know on my end, that's kind of how I'm approaching it. And part of it is I'm walking in the dark a little bit because I'm learning myself. All right. Any last words, Faith?
Just two things. I open meetings. We can do whatever. I will be your point person for check-in also.
Oh, good.
So
Okay.
I'm familiar with that. Registrations, when you get to that point, I will be your check-in person for that, and groups also.
Okay.
Faith, do you mind helping us?
No, not at all. Not at all. It's not-
Sorry, we're taking your time
No.
today.
Okay, well,
No.
we need each
Well,
other, Faith.
Yeah. Just one final thing. Along the sidebar there on the right-hand side, there is a question mark.
Uh-huh.
That goes directly to Planning Center. You can type in what you're looking for. Hey, I want this. It'll pull up an article. If it doesn't have an article, you can actually put in a ticket for something. At this point, they probably have fixed just about anything that you have a question about, but they are very quick to respond.
Yeah,
So,
I've
yeah.
contacted them a lot so far.
Yeah. Any other questions? We can make this, we can talk about a regular meeting or what we want to talk about. They have videos within Planning Center. Again, I would just putz around with it, make it messy, make it your own until you figure it out. But just remember who you put in there, who your my do's are that you got to go in and remove.
Fix, yeah. Sean, you'll fix
Yeah.
that.
Okay, so we're going to go back in. So, we've created some things here. We'll go and clean it up and try to get everything dialed in as much as we can
Yeah.
before we start adding people. We haven't even really started, Faith.
Yeah, and that's
meeting
okay.
weekly yet. We're working
Yeah.
through that. We'll get this cleaned up. I'll I'll text Faith and Camille and all that on the side. I will
Dave is here.
I know, on the side, but get more meetings set up
Yeah.
as we need them. So thank you all for
Yep.
attending this meeting, and thanks, Faith, for your
For sure.
support for us and what we're doing. We're so grateful to you.
Yeah,
You-
Ray, thank you. You've been a tremendous help because I've been frustrated on a few things.
Yeah.
You've,
Yeah,
progressed.
utilize Planning Center and the resources they have, but yeah, it always helps to have somebody that's actually putzed around it, like, how do I do this? So, yeah.
Okay. Well, hey, shalom, y'all. I'll send out the recording, and thank you so much to all of you. I'm praying real quick.
Yes, please do.
Yahweh, it is our desire. We want to use tools, but this kind
Yes.
of stuff it's not your word.
Amen.
That's our tool. Those are the things we really want to be about. But we also want to have some things operating in the background that help us do well at planning and helping people, serving people.
Yes, Lord.
And if this could be that for us, and just another way to connect with 26-8, maybe other churches that we could train in the future. We want
Yes.
to help other people that your name might be great. That's what we want. In the name of Messiah Yeshua, we pray. Amen.